Hey guys, I'm Anna Prosser Robinson, and this is my friend and co-host Kelly Link, and we're thrilled to echo that welcome to the Stream of Annihilation. I didn't know I'd have so many feels already,
Seriously,
Kelly.
I mean, well, Dungeons & Dragons has affected so many different people in different ways, right? To you who've only played it for a few years, to me who was introduced to it when I was 5 years old, Dungeons & Dragons nowadays is for everyone, and everyone plays it, and we have so many amazing people here playing it, like Joe was just saying.
I know, and like he was saying, that creativity, the way we allow ourselves to kind of hone that craft, and those of us who are entertainers and creators, and those of us who want to explore different aspects of the human condition, if you will,
Totally.
in a world that's full of fantasy and a second life. So we're really excited to share that with you here at the Stream of Annihilation. Kelly and I are going to be here to kind of guide you through the action. We're going to be playing in a few games.
That's right.
We're also going to be conducting some interviews with people who are in and around D&D, the kind of people who play D&D for entertainment, the kind who make D&D for you, and people who are involved with all sorts of products around D&D. We'll be bringing you interviews here.
Speaking of which, we got to bring these two guys on
Yes.
right now. Mike Merles, Chris Perkins, everyone.
Come on, yay!
Gentlemen, how are you guys doing? Ready for the Stream of Annihilation?
I think I'm as ready as I can be. I mean, it is a Stream of Annihilation after all, right?
It's a really intimidating name, first of all. When I got the email, like, do you want to host Stream of Annihilation? I was like, I don't know if I do.
Yeah, is anyone ever ready to be annihilated? I don't know.
So, what are we seeing here? What is the newest adventure coming to Dungeons & Dragons?
So, Chris, jump in if you want, because Chris was the architect of this
Chris,
entire
please.
story arc. So,
Sure. Do you want me to tell them just what it is? Okay.
yeah, they're
Drum
waiting
roll.
a bit.
Yes,
Everyone at
drum
home is
roll.
waiting for this
All
announcement.
right. This is Nerdvana here. Here we go. The new story is called Tomb of Annihilation. It is inspired by some classic adventures, but does things you've never seen before and takes us to a land we haven't been to in a long, long time.
Can you describe the setting a little bit? What is this land?
All right, so Tomb of Annihilation is based in the Forgotten Realms. Previously, our stories had been limited to the Sword Coast. We have now gone far, far away from the Sword Coast to the land of Chult.
Ooh.
It is the lost continent, in a way, of the Forgotten Realms. A place of dinosaurs, a place full of undead and undead dinosaurs.
Undead dinosaurs,
Yes,
Chris?
exactly.
Can I ride a T-Rex? A zombie T-Rex?
Yeah, both.
Can I have one as a pet?
All of the
Yes!
All of the above. So, Mike, the villain on the cover of this book is someone that we've seen before. Why is he's coming back?
He's coming back. He's been away for about 40 years. He just came back about a few months ago when we did an adventure collection that included the Tomb of Horrors. And this is a Sararak, the most powerful lich in all of Dungeons & Dragons across all the worlds of D&D. You won't find a nastier lich than a Sararak himself. And
What is he doing in the jungle of Chult?
well, we don't want to give away too much of the story because that's for the players to resolve. But what we do know is that across the Forgotten Realms, people who have been resurrected through the use of magic, which is a lot of important people. It turns out in D&D, if you're important, like you tend to die a lot, but luckily you've got a raise dead spell to pop back. Those
Plot
people,
armor.
exactly right. But unfortunately, that plot armor has a gap in it. Everyone who's been raised from the dead is starting to waste away and die. Something is afoot. All the magic normally used to bring people back to life is now failing.
Uh-oh.
And somehow a Sararak is behind this. And it doesn't take too much to think, well, okay, we have, let's see, horrible death magic and curses and people wasting away.
A lich,
and a
man.
lich
Yeah.
involved. It's probably not for the benefit of the realms of Dungeons & Dragons.
This is going to be a really big problem for some of the characters that I know and love.
Funny you should mention that. That could come up just during this Stream of Annihilation. Who can you think of who's died?
I happen to be
Yeah.
wearing my costume because we are going to be going into dice camera action here very soon, playing a game. But this is, I mean, very, very relevant to where we are. We've just come out of an adventure that is in kind of a wintry, snowy, mountainy place. We're going to a
Yes.
jungle place. What brought you there as the architect of this game?
Part of it is just my passion for undiscovered places and going into sort of some of the most dangerous realms that the world has to offer. I also like just all the bizarre lost cultures that you can find hidden away in the depths of Chult. So there are many mysteries there. And in the course of the adventure, not only will you be dealing with the major story, but also just encountering lots of cool NPCs, going to lots of places that you can explore, and kind of fulfilling the dream of actually being a true hero.
Those
Ooh.
places that you can explore, one of them being Port Nyanzaru. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So Port Nyanzaru, or Nyanzaru, is the kind of last bastion or only bastion of civilization in the entire realm of Chult. basically, everybody who lives there has been pushed to the brink by the undead hordes and monsters that surround them. So within this bastion, though, it is a vibrant, colorful city. Lots of trade, lots of adventurers coming and never leaving. They go off into the jungle and never return. You can meet all sorts of very colorful guides. You can do business there. You can ride dinosaurs there.
I mean, that's
through the streets.
That's exactly
Yes.
instantly what I wanted to
Exactly.
do.
Just you could just do dinosaur races in Port Nyanzaru.
Oh my gosh, can I become the world's most foremost dinosaur racer?
Yes, you can.
Yes!
You will have to do better than some
Zombie
of the others who
dinosaur
claim to
racer.
be the world's foremost dinosaur racer.
Well,
but you
zombie
certainly
dinosaur
can.
racer.
Yeah.
Specific.
Yes.
You're right. It's very important that I make that distinction because there may be another dinosaur racer out there,
Yeah.
but zombie dinosaur racing is a whole
But
other thing.
and we took a great deal of effort to really flesh out the city and bring the city to life.
That's really cool.
That's an instrumental part of the adventure is just familiarizing yourself with the city, getting to know the people who live there, and then finding the right guide to lead you into the depths. Because if you choose unwisely, you could end up in
Wow.
places you don't want to be, or you are not high enough level to be.
Wow. So how do you go about creating those kind of like branching storylines of knowing which guides are going to take you to the wrong place? And I mean, how do you go about beginning to build a world like that?
Well, we've learned some lessons from previous adventures in terms of how to structure these things. But the truth is, we brought in some experts to help us. And one of them was Pendleton Ward, the creator of Adventure Time. Yes. So,
Both of us are like,
so Pendleton was our key story consultant on this.
wow.
And if anybody knows how to lead characters in weird and wonderful directions, it's him.
Wow.
So he contributed many, many ideas to the creation of these characters and also the general flow of the story.
It's feeling like Christmas morning.
I know. I can't wait to see everyone play because everyone's going to be doing the Tomb of Annihilation throughout the next 2 days, seeing different parts of it and different aspects of it. I'm really excited to see the first.
Yeah,
look into
and
it.
we've
Yeah.
actually taken some effort not to spoil too much because we know DMs will want to run the game and not have all the secrets spilled. So some of the DMs you're going to see over the next 2 days have taken the themes of the story or some of the locations and characters and are kind of putting an interesting, fun twist on it. Something a little bit different than what you would get in, say, the RPG adventure, but it still feels very true to the story.
And I mean, it's interesting we're here at the Stream of Annihilation. This is 2 days set aside specifically for streaming and talking about D&D. Why was that important for you guys to do a kickoff like this, to kind of share it with the online community?
Well, I think it's really important for us to, as really, we don't think of ourselves as people who make Dungeons and Dragons. We think of ourselves as the caretakers of the game.
Ooh.
And it really is the community that drives D&D and makes it what it is. So for us, this is really about reaching out to people in the community, like a lot, the streamers that are here with us celebrating this, and then really speaking to the community in a forum that is how D&D players today connect with each other, learn how to be a better player, a dungeon master, find groups online, things like that. It really is, it's like a holiday. It is like our Christmas, right? It's like we all kind of get together, and celebrate D&D and get excited for the next chapter in D&D's ongoing history.
And with like 5th edition, I mean, it's been in a renaissance almost with the revitalization of D&D. I can see with people that have never played before. Back when I was playing it in middle school, and now they want to join my campaigns and play with me. What do you think that there is a point that you can like make that has revitalized 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons?
Yeah, no, I think really what's happened is Dungeons and Dragons for so long was this sort of remote, inaccessible thing.
Yeah.
And now with digital media, with social networking, video streaming, people now, you can watch someone play and realize, it's just storytelling with some rules to decide when you say, I stab him, what happens, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's the rules, step in. And it really is much less arcane than I think people thought. In my experience before, say, the past 3 or 4 years, was people would think Dungeons and Dragons, that's a 300-page rule book.
Yeah.
I need to read it all and understand it, and it's all this math and physics. And now they realize, no, it's about making up a character and talking in a funny voice and hanging out with your friends.
Exactly.
And I think it's made it so much more accessible to people now. And I think it's really lost that intimidation factor it had for
I
a long
agree.
time.
And all these big groups and streamers showing that it is just a bunch of people hanging out around a table having fun, or even online where you would have to gather all of your friends in one place. Now you can play online with people across the world.
And it's very liberating because you don't have to play it the same way.
Exactly.
Every
Right.
group does their own version of D&D. And if you don't like a rule, you can just ignore it. Or at least the DM can.
Right.
You can't.
I can't, but I can convince you to.
Yes, you can.
You can even go back to older editions if like they'd never
Right.
go away, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Oh, I'm so excited. But I'm excited to see you guys play.
Oh, yeah.
And
Is it time to go? Because
I think-
I have my wig
I'm gonna
right
kick
here.
you guys out of here. Oh, right.
I have to get ready. I'm playing Evelyn. We're gonna play dice camera action. Chris, are we ready?
I don't think you are.
We're never ready.
All right, guys, I'm going to send you off right now, everyone. Say goodbye to Anna and Chris,
Bye.
but me
Bye.
and Mike are going to continue talking about Tomb of Annihilation, guys. Please step over here with me. But before we go into their game, everyone, for Dice Camera Action, before I talk a little bit more with Mike, we are going to head over to Studio C. Guys, let's go check out Studio C right now. I know that we heard a little bit about zombie dinosaurs. What other monsters are there going to be in this?
So obviously the zombie dinosaurs are one of the stars of the show in Chult. But actually, what's interesting about Chult and some of the lost city that you may or may not be exploring, I don't want to spoil too much, but now that Chris is gone, I can talk a little bit more about the
Yeah,
storyline.
he can't hear you.
There are some very bizarre creatures that live in Chult. It's an island, it's kind of an isolated realm. So some sort of the odder creatures from D&D's past, like the Zorbo, if you remember that, it's sort of this weird, like, psychic koala creature. They're coming back, but they're coming back in sort of an interesting new way.
Okay.
A lot of Tomb of Annihilation, one of the things that has me really excited about the adventure, I was just flipping through the PDF format. We're doing our final reviews before we send it off to press.
That's right. We didn't actually mention it before, but this is coming out in stores September 8th in local game stores, and then wide release on September 19th.
Yep.
Want to make sure you all know that.
So one of the things we did is there's a map the players have of Chult, of the island, and the coast is all filled in because people have sailed ships around it, but the middle's blank. And so really it's about the players going into the jungle, into this realm that was once a great kingdom but has fallen, and it's overrun with all these undead. So there's all bizarre creatures like the Froggemoth, things like that. Death koalas, yeah, exactly, right? And so that's really what we're bringing. You know, when Chris first pitched me the idea, it was like, basically it's like imagine Indiana Jones meets zombies. You know, and like that, and so a lot of it is, and that's why Chris I think was very protective of the plot. Like a lot of it, so much of it is the discovery. So you're going to meet a lot of very strange creatures from D&D's past. I'm trying the
Do
Sioux
you have a
monster.
favorite character?
A favorite character? Well,
Not even in Tomb of Annihilation. Okay, I want to. You know what the Shadoo is, right?
Oh, yeah.
That is my favorite character.
Oh.
Second edition, you look at the picture of it, and it is like, in Dungeons & Dragons, you know, it's like a hippogriff. It's half of a hippo, and it's half of a horse. That's the hippogriff. With this, it was like, okay, take the face of a man, not a head, but the face, and slap it on a goat. It was amazing.
See, the Shadoo creeps me the heck out.
Exactly.
It is so weird that it's like, okay, so it's creepy.
Exactly, but you have like beholders and giant monsters and things, and then there's the Shadoo, and it's the creepiest monster
It's so
in the
much
game.
creepier because it's a guy's head on
love
it, right? It's just like that is the most, and it's good. That's the weird thing. It's like I'm a nice guy. It's like no, you're an abomination, right? We've got to destroy you. But that's what a lot of those weirder creatures like the Sioux monster, the Zorbo, like the team went back to the archive of like the weird creatures, and so you never really know what you're going to see around the corner. The zombie, the Tyrannosaurus Rex that's vomiting up dinosaurs. I'm sorry, dinosaurs, zombies.
Oh my gosh.
That's like just the tip of the weirdness iceberg.
Wait. So not only is there a zombie dinosaur, but it vomits up zombies?
That's how the undead infection's spreading across the island. Is that each zombie, zombie bites you, you die, turn into zombie. The T-Rex having such a big mouth, it bites you, swallows you, then coughs you back up, and you head out as a zombie yourself to spread the infestation.
I can't wait to see the meat grinder mode. Tell me more about that. Tell me what meat grinder is.
So with meat grinder mode, since Tomb of Horrors has its reputation of being this very deadly dungeon, it's a very simple rules tweak a dungeon master can use. Normally, if your character has to make a death saving throw, when you're at 0 hit points and you might die, you have to roll a 10 or higher. In meat grinder mode, you have to roll a 15 or higher. So it's much more likely, if you're using that rule, that characters will die. And of course, while a Sarax plot's in motion, if your character dies, you're not coming back.
So it's like in a video game when you switch from normal to hard.
Exactly.
It's just the hard settings turned up a little bit.
Yep. And we actually have mechanics for dungeon masters to use. If your character dies while the Sarax plot's unfolding, we actually describe for dungeon masters what happens to your character's soul. There might be a nasty little ritual that's in effect that's preventing you from going to the afterlife. I don't want to give away too many spoilers.
Of course.
But we will lay out exactly what the horrible fate that awaits a character who has the unfortunate luck to die during Tomb of Annihilation.
what is your favorite part about the Jungle of Chult?
You know, I like the real sense of mystery
Yeah.
and the idea that, you know, when Chris mentioned earlier about the guides, we really want to come across this sense of, you know, Dungeons and Dragons, we think of it as three main pillars. There's like interaction, like when you meet an NPC and you're talking, combat, like, you know, obviously when you're fighting monsters, but exploration is something that we really haven't really delved into yet. So what I really love is this idea that you really feel like a foreigner. Like
Yeah.
you're coming to this land. It's been isolated for a long time. In the recent history of the Forgotten Realms, it's undergone, like basically its capital city's been destroyed and overrun with
Oh.
undead. And so these guides are literally like, they are your window into the world. And so what I really like is that feeling of having that blank map and feeling like, okay, here we go. Like we might be the first people who've been here and have come back.
How do you decide your guide, though? How do you, like, do you go into the port and
Yeah.
just find one?
Yeah, exactly. So
Okay.
when you're in Port Nyanzaru, there are a lot of guides. Like this is essentially how a lot of people make their living, because adventurers commonly come here and try to go into the jungle to find some of these lost ruins. And
Pardon me.
so really, it's a matter of like having a job interview. Like you're going to meet each guide. I think there's about like 6 to a dozen guides or so.
Oh, so there is a set amount of guides like
exactly.
that's given to you in the
Yep.
adventure, and like the DM is the one that has to place them throughout the.
Exactly. And obviously the DM can create their own, and then each guide has their own personality. They have some guides might really be well-meaning, but maybe not very good at navigating the jungle. Some
Okay.
guides might seem like experts, but maybe they're actually working for a villain and their job is to lead you off into the jungle, get you lost, and get you eaten by a zombie Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Of course.
And that's really that's what I really like about it, is the sense of, you know, when I use the comparison to Indiana Jones earlier, this idea of like the classic sort of pulp story of going to this really exotic location and being the outsider trying to navigate it, learn your way through. You know, there's the politics in town, the different factions you can get, you know, the
cool.
kind of the guides represent. We really wanted to present it as a very vibrant, you know, interesting, well-detailed culture to give players that real sense of immersion. You know, that real sense that going into the jungle, that's dangerous, right? This is far worse than any dungeon we've created so far for you. That the land itself is incredibly deadly. Everything, you know, you never know what's going to be around the next corner or hiding behind the next tree. And then we have lots of interesting locations for you to visit. I mean, when you think of the map, you know, there's all these key landmarks that you can find. And so I'll give one spoiler.
Okay.
There's
spoiler.
one of the things we tried to do was, if you're familiar with Volo's Guide to Monsters, we brought back these creatures called the Grung. They're these frog-like creatures, humanoids. And what we tried to do was, rather than say, here's some, you know, evil frog people, you can find their village and fight them and kill them, you know, the typical Dungeons and Dragons loot and get treasure, right? Like a lot of DMs run. And that's fine. If that's how you want to run it, that's how you can do it. But what we tried to do with Tomb of Annihilation is say, well, you have this tribe of living in this jungle surrounded by enemies. Even though they're evil, they're still under siege by all the undead and the monsters. How do you want to approach that? Do you want to try to form an alliance with them?
Oh, there's like multiple aspects of interaction with
Exactly.
NPCs. Oh,
Exactly.
that's so cool.
So you could just treat them like, oh, it's a monster lure. Let's defeat the evil Grung and take their treasure and move on. Or you could think, well, these guys are under siege. If we can make an alliance with them, then maybe have a safe place to rest. But they are evil. Can we really trust them? And that's the real, again, that sense of like exploration and discovery, and that you really are strangers in a land that you don't know much about. Like, you know, you have to
great.
learn the hard way.
Now, what if there's people that have been playing their campaign for a few years and they don't want to just start a new campaign? Is there an easy way to integrate this new adventure into their campaign?
Yeah, I think one of the things that Chris did a really good job with in designing the adventure was treating Chult like a location. That even if you don't want to run the Tomb of Annihilation storyline, we essentially have a gazetteer of this entire island location that you can explore. You know, you can think of it as if this is an MMO. There's the quest line you can follow,
Yeah.
or you could just wander around Chult going on adventures. You know, a dungeon master could take that Grung village and create a story around it. Like maybe someone that, you know, a friend of the player characters, or they've been hired to rescue someone who's been captured by the Grung and things like that. So it really is a big sandbox with this story overlaid on top of it. And that's really when we thought about how we designed it. We wanted to have that open-ended sense for exploration. So I think this is great. And since it's an island also, regardless if you're running your own campaign or a different D&D world, it's pretty easy to take the entire island
And just
drop
stick it.
in.
Yeah,
Exactly.
totally. Huh. Do you feel like that's a difference in 5th edition where you guys have been going more towards an open storybook, less rule-driven, and more about just the adventure and the role play?
Yeah, that is definitely a big part of it. Because what we found is, you know, because we've been able to get so much great feedback from the community, we really found it's about, you know, it's about giving people the space to tell their own stories. There are dungeon masters who really like playing at the table. They like the performance aspect of it, and so they like it when we give them a full campaign. but we know there's also a lot of dungeon masters who just want to be inspired.
Yeah.
You know, they want the framework for an adventure, but then they want to tell their own story. And that's something as we've, you know, what we do with each of these campaigns we launch is we go back, we look at feedback, we see what people are saying, and we apply the lessons we learn each year after year, you know, just trying to improve. You know? Our attitude is we always want to make this year the best year for D&D.
I mean, with all the people here, everyone getting ready to play D&D, man, I think this is the best year for D&D, and every year after it, I mean, look at all these guys ready. Guys, we got Dice Camera Action coming up very soon. I'm actually going to see if you guys are, hey, you guys ready down there? It looks like it, all right. Thank you so much, Mike. Guys, we have more D&D action coming up for Tomb Annihilation. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's head down to Studio A with Dice Camera Action.